Time.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mint Door podcast. Today it is just Karen and I,
Yep.
and we're just going to talk it out. This is one of our favorite things to do is just see where the conversation goes. And a lot of times we come up with some good gems. So we hope that you will find this helpful.
Indeed, we do. So I'm going to tell you about something that happens to me on a fairly regular basis. I like going out for coffee. I like going out for coffee with my friends, and we take it in turns of who buys the coffee. If we go on a dog walk and do the coffee. And when it comes to when we order the coffee and they ask for my name, I don't say Karen anymore. I either say my friend's name that I'm with. I might use one of my daughter's names. But I'm not saying Karen for them to have to hear that, write it on the cup. I'm going in disguise a little bit.
So what are the thoughts in your head, right when they ask for your name and you think, oh, I don't want to use Karen? What's going through your head and what are you feeling?
My first overwhelming feeling is I'm embarrassed. And that is because of the very negative connotation that Karen has. You can now be a Karen. That's what people, they use this phrase all the time. And I hear so many people or see people on social media using that phrase about a situation that they've been in, something they're frustrated with, a situation that's made them angry, whatever it is, but they will type out. And some of these people I would like to think are really lovely people are writing in their social media posts about someone being a Karen. And over the last few years, it's just become more and more common that people use my name that way. And I know that they're not talking about me, but when I say it, most often to a younger person who's serving, all sorts of things go through my head about who they think I am because my name is Karen.
That's got to be, it's something that I don't even think about. I mean, I don't even think twice about giving my name. I don't think about how it must feel for you to be hesitant to give your name. And I bet a lot of people, when they're using the word Karen in the way that you're describing, don't even realize that there are real Karens out there who are not really enjoying this limelight.
Yeah, it's a really strange situation to be in, and it makes me sometimes it can make me sad, especially when people that I get along with well or I'm fond with use that. Not even directly speaking to me, but say in a social media post, and I hear that or read it, and it's almost like they've taken something and like physically hurt me by saying that. And I do accept that a lot of people aren't even giving a second thought to what they're doing. But it's interesting that if I ever meet another Karen, they almost somebody says first, oh, but we're the lovely ones, or we're the nice ones, or whatever. And so it must be on other Karens' minds that people are using their names in this way. And there are some other names, and I can't remember what they are. I don't even want to say them because, like, if anybody who had one of those other names was listening, it's not fair. But yeah, it's just that feeling of like, I'm just embarrassed. I'm not going to tell you my name's Karen because I hope that I'm a nice person and I am not like the caricature, maybe, of what has been said about Karens or used in that way. But yeah, I mean, it's a name now that not one baby was registered as a Karen in the world, I think, in the last how many years. So.
Isn't that something that's really crazy to think? And it's really, if I think about this, if I were to put myself in the server's shoes, and someone were to say their name was Karen, I would not think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't even, I would just be like, oh, well, I happen to know a Karen. Cool. Another Karen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go there. Or and I wonder too, like sometimes if they're even just so busy that they're just writing a name. Now,
Yeah.
if you acted crazy, angry, frustrated, then that might cue them to that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to think that one name gets that label. And it makes me reflect on other names or labels that we give a certain cohort.
Yeah.
What it makes me think of is helicopter mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a dentist working in clinics,
Yeah.
we experience helicopter mom. And I remember one time thinking, well, I'm a helicopter mom.
And yeah,
And that's
you've
not
just thought that about
necessarily,
someone else.
yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I care deeply about the health and well-being of my kids.
Yeah.
And I'll be there.
And
That's
you're involved.
role, right?
Mm. The opposite, if you took the extreme opposite to helicopter mum, would be somebody who, in extreme circumstances would neglect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right that is seeing somebody who cares.
Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder if we can't reframe, at least in your mind, and maybe start a trend, what Karen means. And maybe Karen, instead of meaning, losing her cool, acting ornery,
complaining to the manager, that seems to be the thing that when people use that term, that's what they think.
But maybe what Karen really is someone who's standing up for herself. Someone who's setting a boundary. Someone who has confidence to speak up for her rights.
Yeah. That's a really good reframe. And as you said that, it would make me imagine that one day, if the shift could be that people would want to be one.
Right?
Say, yeah, she doesn't, she does, have the boundaries and do that. But I think if I was to reframe it, I would just want people to forget the negative connotation and then have just the same neutral reaction to everybody else's name. Like, I remove the meaning from it, maybe. And just think it's just my name.
Right.
Like you said, it's very true. When somebody, if you were to, take an order from Karen, you wouldn't think, oh, Karen, and everything that goes with that. You would just write it down and move on. So I think maybe putting the positive connection would be, it has no meaning. It's just my name, and it in no way reflects who I am.
Right.
And it's not a noun for something that's embarrassing that you don't want to be associated with. That would probably be. I have something funny is coming to mind as I'm thinking about, like, in coffee shops, and when you give your name for an order. I had a really funny, like, I don't know if it was my accent. I don't know if the coffee shop was loud. But when I was in somewhere, I gave Karen as my name. And it must have been like I don't know, 15, 16-year-old on the other side taking my order. And they looked at me really quizzically. And I was like, it's a very funny reaction when I told them my name's Karen. Like, I wouldn't expect any visible reaction, but they looked a bit shocked. And anyway, I waited for my coffee. And then something came out and they shouted out, Hagrid. Like nobody responded to go and get Hagrid's order. And then he shouted out, Hagrid, decaffeinated oat milk latte and something else with whoever I was with. I was like, that's my order. They have just called me Hagrid. So when I picked it up, it was the same person that like handed it over to me. And I was like, I said, I thought the look on your face was funny when I gave you my order. And he was like, and I was like, because I'm not called Hagrid. So I was just wondering, have you ever had anybody like write down a weird name on a cup when you've given your name?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
I think maybe it's the accent that confuses people, because I was in somewhere else a few years ago with a Danish friend of mine, and we ordered drinks, and her name is Bonnie, and her drink, she was called out and her order was called out under the name of Rodney. So I think the two of us go around with our different accents, and maybe people pick up really weird random names. Carol is quite often what I would get, I think, because it's noisy and they hear Karen and Carol or whatever. But Hagrid is the biggest strange one that I've had.
So funny.
At least I wasn't called Karen. Like,
well,
shouted out.
And I think you need to not be hesitant to use your name, because the more you use it, because you're so wonderful and lovely, the more you use it, the more people are going to say, this is a beautiful name.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to think.
Yeah.
And times change as well, like popular culture. What's in 1 minute is out another, and sadly probably the world will move on to another name.
Yeah, well, and hopefully, listening to this, I know just me hearing you talk about this, it has woken me up to, be careful with those labels that we put on people, that, and not only that, but here's another thought, is we all have pieces of that persona in us. Every single one of us. And so, we're all so much more alike than we are different.
I would say any mum or parent who has children has had their children be embarrassed by their behavior, by what they've done as a parent. They're probably rolling their eyes like behind you when you're asking for something or changing something or advocating for yourself. Even I think that's what teenagers and older children somehow really dislike, is when their parents do that. But that is just advocating for yourself.
And that's a very important skill to learn.
So maybe we all need a little bit of that in us.
That's right.
To stand up for ourselves and not accept. An example of that would be, one of my girls went to the hairdressers to get her hair done before a party, and they were running 45 minutes late and didn't say anything. Well, I would at one point politely would have said, excuse me, my appointment was at 3. Do you know how much longer you're going to be? But I think there's there is a generation now of people, they don't want to say anything because they don't want to be picked out as being the one who is a troublemaker or difficult, or so to be quiet is like, but yeah, at the same time, it's your time. You are advocating for the fact that you have somewhere to be. That you need to say something. So maybe not being shy of it, because I would be shy of doing that, because somebody would say, oh, well, her name is, and she acts like she is one. But you are just advocating for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that is and I don't know if it's generational. I mean, I remember feeling that way as a kid. I think it's a skill. I think it's something you need to learn. Like anything that you develop, at first it's uncomfortable. You know, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And ultimately, then the happier you will be in life. Advocating for yourself is an important thing.
I mean, if you think back, and if we're thinking like maybe specifically in healthcare, even as a patient, you need to be good at advocating for yourself or your family.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, sometimes if you don't ask, it doesn't happen. But yet, as the healthcare professional, the training that you've done, all those paths that you've had to follow to get to where you are today, if you haven't been able to advocate for yourself, it's probably been way more difficult.
Yep, very true.
So it's one of those things that in healthcare, both ways around, you need to be an advocate for yourself or your family or your children or your parents or whoever it is.
Yeah. So Karen's just a really good advocator. And you should.
That's our new definition.
So do you think you'll use your name the next time you go to a coffee shop?
I will try. I will. Yes, I will. I'm not going to say the thought isn't there, but what I can do is when I have that thought, I can then quickly reframe it into saying, Karen is just a really nice person who, I mean, I'm not even advocating for myself. I'm just giving my name for a coffee. So I'm Karen and nobody cares. That's what I'm going to say to myself. I'm Karen and nobody cares what my name is.
And I'm going to show them that I am an amazing person.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm going to think.
That wants my decaf oat milk latte done just right.
Yeah, that's it. Decaf oat milk is good for me. And that's the secret. That's
awesome.
The favorite drink. What's your favorite drink?
Well, very similar to you, with just not decaf.
Yeah, proper coffee, as my dad would call it. Proper coffee.
Coffee that puts hair on your chest, as my dad would say.
That's what,
Which always confused me because I didn't know why I would ever want hair on my chest. But
isn't that, I said, okay, this is funny. So coffee that puts hair on your chest is just a normal coffee, like not decaf. But isn't it funny that you don't worry when you're giving that order that people are looking to see if you have a hairy chest?
Right. Maybe next time I will. I'll be like,
wear the scarf. Yes. But I mean, that's how crazy it is, isn't it? The connotation of a word that it could quite easily, somebody said, if you order normal coffee, you have a hairy chest. Like that's just like playground games. And that's maybe what this brings it back to. It's just like the equivalent of children making up something. And this one's just stuck. So, no hairy chests. Oat milk lattes, either decaf or regular, are okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this Talk It Out, and hope that the next time you think of names or labels that you think twice and realize that we all have feelings.
Yeah.
So
we do indeed.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next time on the next episode of the Mint Door Podcast.
Bye.